Uh-oh. Motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Keyshawn Davis's first words since missing the weight by a wide margin, whopping 4 pounds. Keyshawn said, "I've been making this weight for over 4 years now. I just outgrew the weight. I tried. I just outgrew the weight." So, I mean, the WBO title is only really available for Edwin de Los Santos to win, in the unlikely event that he wins the fight, but I don't think he's going to. If you saw him at the weigh-in, he looked gaunt, he looked drained, whereas we know Keyshawn...
Yeah, Keyshawn's gotta be feeling good, not having to cut that extra 4 pounds to make 135. I always said he was never gonna be there long.
So the prediction is likely to stick, and tomorrow night in Norfolk, Keyshawn is likely to overpower Edwin de Los Santos and thereby decimate him. That was always my pick.
But we've already been through all the Keyshawn Davis stuff. What happens to lightweight now?
What happens to the WBO title? Well, if Keyshawn Davis wins, the title remains vacant, and 2 other contenders will have to fight for it, and it just so happens that Top Rank's Abdullah Mason is ranked at number 2, and Great Britain's Sam Noakes is ranked at number 1. So these are the 2 likeliest contenders to fight for the title. Should Keyshawn Davis win tomorrow night and subsequently move up in weight to the super lightweight division, the lightweight landscape...
It is rapidly changing. Just yesterday, Vasyl Lomachenko officially retired, thereby elevating Raymond Muratalla to full IBF champion, but he may not be champion for very long, since Andy Cruz is right there behind him.
Whoa, slow down.
Okay, so yesterday, Vasyl Lomachenko retired. In all likelihood, Raymond Muratalla will be elevated to full IBF champion, or he and Andy Cruz will fight for the vacant title.
And if it comes down to Andy Cruz versus Raymond, I would go with Andy Cruz to win that fight and take the red belt from him.
That's via the IBF. Via the WBO, as stated, Abdullah Mason is number 2, Sam Noakes is number 1. If it comes down to these 2 fighters, I have Abdullah beating Sam and becoming this division's new WBO champion inside this calendar year.
WBC champion Shakur Stevenson is on course to take on his mandatory challenger, William Zepeda, and I am leaning towards Shakur to win the fight.
That's via the WBC.
Via the WBA, Gervonta Davis is set to take on Lamont Roach for the 2nd time, but afterwards, it's conceivable that he may go right into a Jake Paul fight.
Exhibition.
Whatever. The highest ranked contender via the WBA is William Zepeda, but as stated, William is about to fight Shakur. Ranked right behind William is another Golden Boy Promotions fighter in Floyd Escofield.
Floyd's supposed to be fighting Tevin Farmer on the undercard of Jake Paul's next fight?
And in the time it takes all of these fights to happen, it's conceivable that Floyd could ascend to the number 1 spot, thereby being in a pole position to pick up the WBA title should Gervonta Davis vacate it.
Going the WBA route does not ensure Floyd Schofield a crack at the apple with Gervonta. I don't think the WBA would pressure him, but if Gervonta were to retire, like he said he's going to, and he drops the WBA title, Floyd would theoretically be in position to pick it up. That's the lay of the land at 135.
Well, what about Andy Cruz? He's right there ranked behind Floyd.
Yeah, but Andy's going the IBF route, so he might sooner get Raymond Muratalla in the ring with the IBF, who take their mandates seriously, than Floyd Schofield via the WBA.
God only knows how long it would take the WBA to order a fight between Floyd Schofield and somebody else. The way it is, Abdullah Mason is set to become WBO champion.
Raymond Muratalla is set to become IBF champion, and Andy Cruz is set to become IBF champion right behind him.
Gervonta has the WBA, but for how long is the question. Floyd is right behind him, and Shakur, he's got the BC. That's the lay of the land.
And Keyshawn?
Reacting to Keyshawn Davis missing the weight ahead of their fight, Edwin De Los Santos said, "Keyshawn Davis, I'm coming off a 2-year layoff, and even I made the weight, and you didn't. You lost the first fight, and you will lose the next one tomorrow." Some are calling it unprofessional of Keyshawn to have missed it by that much. But when you miss it by that much, it's because you really weren't trying to make it. A pound and a half I could see, but 4?
I don't think that was by accident. I think that was by design. Because Keyshawn Davis misses the weight, effectively forfeiting the title at a time when Abdullah Mason is in position to fight for it. Is that supposed to be a coincidence?
I don't think it is. I think Top Rank worked it out amongst themselves to where when Keyshawn leaves 135, Abdullah will be there to pick up his brown belt.
A lack of professionalism is a very generic assessment of what's going on here. It would seem to me that Top Rank was moving their pieces on the board strategically to ensure that title stays with them.
Whether Keyshawn has it or Abdullah has it, even if it means screwing over Edwin De Los Santos. Because that's kind of what they did, but at the same time, this is a cutthroat industry, a cutthroat business. If you leave any of yourself out there to be taken advantage of, that's what's gonna happen. And for a fighter who hasn't fought in 2 years...
So, whose fault is that?
Whose job was it to ensure that Edwin De Los Santos gets to stay busy and stay active in the subsequent 2 years that followed the Shakur Stevenson fight? I'd say that was Samson Lukawicz's job. That was PBC's job.
If you were left in a compromising position as a result of all of that, that is their fault. And the same applies to Frank Martin.
Edwin De Los Santos has not fought since the Shakur Stevenson fight. Frank Martin has not fought since the Gervonta Davis fight. He's been inactive, collecting dust, right alongside Edwin De Los Santos. Reacting to Keyshawn missing the weight, Frank Martin stated, "Mofo can't even make weight. Move up to 140 and come see about me, businessman."
So it would seem that Keyshawn Davis has 2 PBC guys on the menu that he can take care of, that he can take out, because Frank Martin's in no better position than Edwin De Los Santos, and Keyshawn is more talented than both,
with a better amateur pedigree than both.
He beat them both, as top-ranked fighters often do when faced with PBC scrubs.
What applies to Edwin De Los Santos also applies to Frank Martin, that if you haven't had a rebound fight yet, whose fault is that? Errol Spence Jr. is your promoter, and you fight under the PBC banner. The PBC have done shows since your loss to Gervonta, but they didn't book you a spot to have a rebound fight. So when you're collecting ring rust, whose fault is it?
If it were just about having a stay busy fight, a little quick run out, you could have went to Pro Box. That's what Lamont Roach did. That's what Angelo Leo did.
That's what Frank Martin should have did. Maybe that's what Kermel Moton should do.
Kermel in motion.
Tell you what, he'd be seen by more people on Pro Box than people are seeing him on PBC.
Kermel in motion.
Frank Martin might become a target for Keyshawn Davis, if for no other reason than that would be a common opponent between him and Gervonta Davis.
And remember, Keyshawn is a top-ranked fighter who's got a great working relationship with the WBO, that when he gets up to 140, that's likely the route they're gonna take him up the WBO route. And who's the WBO champion?
Teo Crackbaby. That's who. Teofimo Lopez, who's going through a mental health crisis.
We'll get to him.
Over the years, I've seen a lot of top-ranked fighters beat the brakes off of PBC guys. That's what usually happens when fighters from both stables meet each other. So I figure Keyshawn is going to knock out Edwin tomorrow night, and if and when he moves up to 140, if he fights Frank, he beats him too.
Kermel in motion.
Crawford.
Talk about Keyshawn Davis moving up to 140 pounds. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I have said this before, that I believe he will arrive there even more strong, even more dangerous. 140 might prove to be Keyshawn Davis's best weight if not one of his best weights in his young boxing career.
Stock took a bit of a hit based on some recent comments that he made about Gervonta Davis. It sounded too much like he was glazing that guy.
Giving him too much praise instead of putting pressure on him. But because he's moving to 140 pounds, Keyshawn Davis versus Gervonta Davis isn't going to be a thing. It's not going to be a conversation.
Keyshawn can make people forget, even if they're mad at him now, for glazing Gervonta and for missing the weight with Edwin.
With the right series of fights, if you postulate that Frank Martin could service as a lead-in to a Teofimo Lopez fight,
I think people would like that.
I think they would. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that there isn't cause for concern when it comes to Keyshawn Davis. Just some of the stuff he's been saying lately. He says he loves boxing, but he also ponders life after it.
Here we go.
Keyshawn Davis doesn't want to hang around boxing for too long. That was among the revelations in an illuminating 22-minute sit-down interview recently conducted with Andre Ward as part of the Hall of Famers The Art of Ward interview series. I honestly want to start getting into streaming, Davis told Ward. I think I would be a great promoter. I just want to use boxing to put me into other things.
Where have we heard that before?
Boxing is a long tradition of great fighters who fought for too long, which Davis wants to avoid. I can't love this too much because this is gonna come and go, and once it's gone, I can't keep fighting. I love this sport for sure, but just for the moment. Davis referred to a conversation he had with fellow lightweight title holder Shakur Stevenson, and Davis telling, Stevenson said, after I retire, I've still got to live another 50 years. But Davis, 26, is still a very recent arrival to the spotlight. The lightweight silver medalist in the Tokyo Olympics in 2021 was featured regularly during his professional development, but his true entry into the big time came in November of last year. That's when Davis enjoyed a smashing homecoming success, taking apart Gustavo Lemos in 2 rounds for a roaring crowd in Norfolk, Virginia. When you got your hometown and everybody expects you to win, it's a different type of pressure, Ward said, Andre Ward. Davis, though, wore a goofy grin on his face saying, how? The idea that Davis is immune to a pressure felt by Ward, one of the greatest boxers of his generation, hints at a tantalizing future for Davis. Davis, 13-0, is back in Norfolk on June 7th, defending his belt against Edwin de Los Santos in an ESPN main event. The businessman shed some light on matchmaking, too. He was asked about a possible fight with Andy Cruz, the promising but professionally inexperienced Cuban with a 5-0 record, and the person who bested Davis in Tokyo. They ain't ready yet, Davis said. Ward pointed out that Cruz had been calling for the fight now.
I want now.
I was talking trash to Devin Haney when I was like 7-0, saying I'm ready now. I'm knowing damn well I wasn't ready now. I was going to 8-round fights. Davis laughed. You gotta sound that way, though.
Davis's confidence shone through the interview. He described his title win over Dennis Berinchyk as easy. Honestly, I knew it would be easy. And when pressed for a prediction on a hypothetical fight with Cruz, under 6, Davis said, without hesitating.
That sounds good, but now that he's blown the weight and he's set to move up to 140 afterwards, is he actually on a collision course with Andy? Because I don't see Andy going to 140 no time soon.
Pretty much tables that fight. Cause for concern when it comes to Keyshawn. I didn't like seeing him glazing Gervonta Davis the way that he was. I didn't like that.
And what I really don't like, that so early in this young fighter's boxing career, he's already talking about retirement. He's already looking to do other things when he's just getting started.
It's the kind of stuff Jared Anderson was saying before his career spiraled out of control.
But not long ago either. The saving grace for Keyshawn is, I think he has a much higher ceiling than a Jared Anderson. I think when his career is all said and done, he will have been a more accomplished fighter than a Jared Anderson. But it is disturbing to see a fighter who's just getting started talk about exiting the sport and doing other things. There's a time and a place for that conversation, for those thoughts. But when you're just getting started...
And he's supposed to represent the next generation of American boxers, the next wave, the next crop. And what he's thinking about is retirement?
Like I said, that's not encouraging. That's not a good sign. That is the earmark of a distracted fighter who may not be as dedicated to this thing as you should be. And boxing is a jealous sport.
So, there's definitely cause for concern there.
Even more concerning is the mental state of Teofimo Lopez, who has withdrawn from a Devin Haney fight due to mental health issues, at least according to Keith Connolly. According to Teofimo himself, so if Haney is his guy, his being Turkey El Sheikh, and they want me to go that way, isn't it stating it out without stating that I meant to lose while I'm over there?
Isn't this the same guy who said he was down to fight Jaron Ennis, but he gets cold feet when it comes to Devin?
Teofimo Lopez also believed he wouldn't get a decision in a fight with Devin Haney and thinks Haney should fight Rolly. The only way I get to win is by knocking him out. And that's what Tank said too. The only way we get the job done is by knocking him out, and I'm not taking away from my skill set. I grew up with a lot of different styles. That's not boxing, how Haney fights. They should have Rolly fight Haney. I don't think there's enough damage control for comments like these. Keith Connolly can chalk up Teofimo's absence to mental health issues, but Teofimo himself has made it very clear why he doesn't want to fight Devin. It's because he doesn't believe he can win. Now, he can blame it on Turkey, or he can blame it on the location, but there's always the chance that you take it out of the judge's hands. If you really believe in your boxing, you believe in your power, and you believe in yourself.
He doesn't.
Bringing up anything Gervonta Davis would have said about the exact same fight with the exact same fighter at the exact same location only makes you as big a ducker as him. You can't use him as a crutch, especially when you lambasted him. In previous instances, in previous years, Teofimo Lopez himself called Gervonta Davis a ducker, so that if you are now adopting his school of thought, what does that make you? And people keep asking, what's to be afraid of? What is there to avoid in Devin Haney? Timothy Bradley thinks Teofimo wins the fight, but you see what Teofimo said via his own social media to his followers. This is how he justifies turning down $11 million, as if anybody else is offering him that.
The same guy who wanted me and you to believe that he's down to fight Boots isn't down to fight Devin.
Even more perplexing is that Teofimo Lopez uploaded a photo of himself to his social media, which was then retweeted by Tom Brown, by TGB Promotions. Behind the scenes, is Teofimo trying to go to the PBC?
I don't know. It's all open to interpretation. All I do know is this is what Teofimo said. These are his words. This is not me paraphrasing or connecting the dots for him.
In so many words, he doesn't think he can win.
Dress it up however you like. You're basically saying you don't think you can knock out Devin. That rules that out, taking it out of the judge's hands. And on points, you don't believe you win.
Now, because this is a boxing news channel, I do feel some obligation to cover this story from all the angles and give you my thoughts. But truthfully, I don't care about this fight. I don't care about Teofimo's career. He can never box again and I wouldn't bat an eyelash. Same applies to Devin. But if you're asking me
why are they not fighting and whose fault is it? It's Teofimo's fault because he's ducking. He's not holding out for more money if he's saying stuff like this.
You guys gotta stop apologizing for these cowardly fighters. They're not the gladiators you make them out to be. And that's why I've long maintained that I'm not one of these content creators looking to make buddy-buddy and rub elbows with the boxers, make googly eyes at them for exclusives.
Most of what you need to know, you already know. It's already out there.
Teofimo Lopez has never fancied the Devin Haney fight. You can call Devin boring, say that he's pillow-fisted, but stylistically, Devin's style doesn't do Teofimo's any favors, and Teofimo knows that.
All he did was find a fanciful way to duck. The same way that Gervonta did. For the same reason.
I don't know what he's gonna do now. I don't know who he's gonna fight. I don't really care either.